Chapter 71. 20.4th episode. Zesham Ruins, 15, you are listening at novelfull.audio. Oh, you outdid it. As expected of the puppet users, Marin. Ebelhade dropped the faded magic stone in his hand to the ground. Ebelhade.san, please. What makes you think I'm going to listen to you? I have been dreaming of this day all my life, from birth till this day. 300 years, 300 years. You people can't even imagine it. Ebelhade takes out the next magic stone from the bag. That magic stone, I thought you submitted an application for it as a hobby. But I wonder if it was for using the arrow of God or something. If I think about it calmly, there might have been a point at which I could have predicted Ebelhade's murderous actions. Please surrender. That's just nonsense. If it's 1. On point 1, I will never lose. What did you say? I don't know how much I can hold back. So please surrender. Ebelhade shuts up and glares at me. Hey Abel. You can't provoke him in this situation. Maizen grabs me by the shoulders and convinces me. No, but it actually is. We're inside the building, so if I do it badly, I might end up breaking it down. If that happens, Ebelhade.san might be trapped underneath. This isn't because I'm disrespecting Ebelhade.san, going easy on him, and doing it again like before. It means it's bad if you run into each other, and that's because you're looking at it rather heavily. Even so, you should not have said it like that. Indeed, I would have lost if it wasn't here. I'll accept that. Ebelhade points his fingertips at the golem. Golem, obey. One of the squatting golems stood up. A huge body of pure white stone. Nearly 3 meters tall above the ceiling. Behold Abel. These are the soldiers of Zesham, the white giants of destruction. It was a short meeting, but I'll remember you. I will remember you as the greatest contributor to the rebirth of Zesham. You may die with that honor. The golem controlled by Ebelhade was coming towards us. Every time it took a step, the entire ruins shook greatly. As I observed the running golem, the area around its body occasionally emitted a faint light. It seems that a ward that prevents magical interference is set up inside the body to automatically expand as soon as it is activated. Do I intercept it with magic from the front and shatter the entire ward? No, but I don't know how strong it is. We can't really use magic indoors, or even in such an intricate place. If done badly, we could all be buried alive. I moved to the side of the aisle and touched the body of the golem that was frozen in a crouched position. If it's of the same construction, I might be able to figure out its weaknesses by analyzing it. Let's run away, Abel. I can't fight any enemies like that. Yes. That golem is a 2000.year.old elven weapon. It's not something we should be involved in. Maya and Maizen joined forces to take on the task of persuading me. But I'm already involved in breaking the seal and I have to take the responsibility for that. I keep flowing my magic power to the golem and proceed with the analysis. It's not as bad as warding, but there is a lot of interference with analysis measures. If it's a time of war, if the golem's performance is cracked, we'll be at a big disadvantage. It's fairly protected. But I have the knowledge that I got from Ebelhade accompanied by the knowledge from breaking the ward. It's fine. You said he could have solved it without Abel. Let's get the hell out of here. Oh, I think I'll be able to handle it. Ray, really. But you don't want to be reckless. I stand up and take 2 steps away from the golem. Golem, obey. With a wave of his wand, the squatting golem got up. Oh, it moved. That, so you can move it. Maya frowns uneasily. No, there's nothing wrong with moving it. If you're losing strength, just prepare the same thing. I was going to look for weaknesses, but I stepped on the idea that I could somehow move it. However, it's a little incomplete. Impossible, how could you know the activation technique of Zeshem's golem? Finally, an impatience began to emerge from Ebelhade. From the looks of it, Ebelhade must have inherited the golem activation technique from his ancestors. No, but I saw you activate it. That's impossible. There's no way you could have seen that encryption at a glance. I've made up for it with analysis. In the first place, you were the one who taught me the basic types of the old elven techniques. Without the vast magical power of the magic stone, the activation of Zeshem's golem would be, no, I got it done actually. As I continued to answer, Ebelhade closed his mouth. With the way things are going, if we can make a good threat, we might be able to get him to surrender. I don't want to do anything too rough either. Ebelhade was one of the few people I could talk to as an equal about magic. Guh. Even so, you shouldn't be able to control them because you don't have the blood of an elf in your veins. Even if you're just learning by example, it's still a flash in the pan. Crush it, white giant. The golem controlled by Ebelhade and the one controlled by me collided and fights each other. The one I control is being pushed back. I'm sure the inadequacy of the magic circle means that it's unable to produce its true power. I was a little intimidated, but this is as far as it goes. Golem, obey. I waved my wand behind the golem controlled by Ebelhade. The third golem stands up and pushes Ebelhade's golem down from behind. That's ridiculous. This, further waving his staff. The fourth golem, which was in a straight line, moves. 3 golems bullied a single golem. In the meantime, there was a rumbling sound and Ebelhade's golem broke apart. This can't be. This can't be. With the magic capacity of a human, a single one of them might be enough. But 3 of them. There's no way I can pull off here. By my hand, Zeshem's longing will be fulfilled. It's right there, just right there, and I'll reach it. My 2,000 years of my blood will not be destroyed by you. Ebelhade takes out 2 magic stones. He's probably going to move 2 more golems against me. I wave my wand faster than Ebelhade's arm. The magic circle that floats is 3. Golem, obey, golem, obey. After me, Ebelhade chants. Come on, white giant. Ebelhade points his arm at me. The golem does not obey his words. Go, white giant. *T, W, Y. The golem in that area is under my control. This golem, when you activate it, it will deploy a warding that plays magic, right? You can't override it. The 3 new golems I controlled surrounded Ebelhade. From that position, you say you activated the golems here. Since magic decay will occur, if the distance is opened up, the interference-type magic should lose its effect. The 3 golems stopped moving around Ebelhade. Give it up already. Ebelhade, you lose. Ebelhade looks back at the end of the road. It's right there. It's just right and I'll reach it. Just a little more and I'll get the arrow of God. And I'm not going to throw it away right here. Ebelhade turned his back on me and ran out. Trying to slip through the gap between the 2 golems. Hey. *T. I point my wand at Ebelhade. The golem moves to capture Ebelhade. Explode. Ebelhade unleashed his magic on the floor. There was an explosion, and smoke danced in the air. Ebelhade used the blast to slip through the golem's arms. Wah! It's a tremendous persistence. Even though he was injured by the blast, hitting his body on the ground, Ebelhade quickly got up and ran towards the back. Chapter 72. 20th episode. Zeshem Ruins, 16, you are listening at novelfull.audio. I don't know what the arrow of God is, but we can't let Ebelhade run wild. I left Ordam on the spot and ran after Everhide. Maya and Maizen followed after me. I stopped and turned around. Maya should stay here. It's probably not safe. Maizen is working out, so he'll be able to move reasonably well, but I don't think we can expect that from Maya. I don't know what's ahead. We've seen the inside of the ruins all over, and I don't think it's likely that a magic beast will appear again, or anything like that. It's safer to stay here. But I'm anxious and... If Abel is going to go, then Maya too. Maya winces and lets her head drop. It's okay. I'll be right back. It's true, isn't it? Maya, I'll go after you on the count of 500, okay? Well, it's going to take twice that long. Is Ebelhade a cup of noodles or something? I suddenly thought about riding the golem to get around. But beyond this place where the golem is lined up, there was a narrow passage ahead. If you have your back bent, you might be able to get over it somehow, but I'm not going to let that golem move that fine. If you lean your center of gravity forward, you'll struggle to balance. If you're careful about tipping over, you'll waste a lot of time. I only know how to handle it for free, and I only half know how to handle it. I'll give up on using the golem. The wall at the entrance of the passage has portraits of fire, elves, and chimera, and it has a very unusual atmosphere. It's a strange picture, and that's why it's so flavorful. Ahead is where Ebelhade is. If we take too long, there is a chance that Ebelhade will have the arrow of God or something like that in his hands. We must hurry. I rushed ahead with Maizen. I'm afraid you've messed with the wrong thing. You won't listen to me, even though I tell you to back off, so I have no choice. I'm the leader for now after all. Helping my subordinate and cleaning up his messes is just part of the job description. I will do what I can to help as a leader. Abel. Don't we need to run faster, or it will be bad? After a short run into the aisle, I stopped. Maizen followed me to a halt. Sorry, I'm out of energy. I said, breathing hard and putting my hands on my knees. It was a good start. Even if it was just a combination of fatigue from the analysis of the ruins, and the special potion was out. I knew that this would happen if I ran with a strange sense of caution. I really feel bad. But I'll be waiting here for you. So do something to stop Ebelhade. We can't leave Ebelhade alone. If those words are true, Ebelhade will use the arrows of God to start a war on Earth. We have to stop him from doing it here at all costs. Wait a minute. Isn't that the end of the line? There's no way I could stop that thing. No, but we can't overlook it. You see, a leader has to clean up his subordinates' messes and, surely I said it, and I apologize for it, so can I take it back? You're kidding, right? You don't really mean it when you come up here, do you? Maizen grabs me by both shoulders and shakes me. I can't blame him for saying that, because it's impossible to do something like that. I gently look away. Abel. No, look at my feet. I'm feeling really flat, you know. You can touch them if you want. I'd rather have you admire me for running this far. I say, touching my foot myself. Until here. Look back. You'll see Maya still watching over you with concern. I glanced back. I'd say it's about 50 meters or less. Come to think of it, since I was born, I've never made a full dot-on-dash for that long a distance before. But as expected of Maizen, he has been training. He hadn't even caught his breath after such a long run. As expected, shall we just go home? It's too much for us, that's right. Maizen, take me on your back and go after Ebelhade. Yeah, I get it, but... Sure, that might work, but, I got on Maizen's back. Maizen kept a straight face while we ran down the aisle. I'm honestly embarrassed too, but you can't replace your back. I'm sure Ebelhade didn't expect that we'll chase him in a piggybacked state either. When I passed through the aisle, I found myself in a large space. At the corners of the four corners, there are huge pillars carved with intricate technical formulas. They must have had some kind of role when the fortress was in motion. There was a flamboyantly decorated door at the back. Perhaps the arrow of God was just beyond that. In the middle of the room, there was a beast-shaped golem that was nearly 4 meters tall. The motif was probably around a dog or a wolf. Somehow the ears and tail features seemed to resemble a hound. Goo. The golem got up and turned its head. It had magic stones embedded throughout its body, giving it a rugged impression. Obviously, the number of magic stones is more than the other golems. There must also be some that are assembled inside. It must mean it's a higher rank than the others. Looks like Ebelhade has activated it. It may have been set up to protect the depths of the fortress. This is the last difficulty. Ebelhade himself should be able to be neutralized without that much trouble. What are you gonna do, Abel? You can't even bring a golem over here. Can we turn back? Can we turn back now? Mei-zen shouts as he looks back at me. That, maybe if we turn back, they'll follow us back. He's taller than the other golems, but due to his crawling posture from the start, he's going to be able to get through the passage. That's right. Can't you just reconfigure that thing, hey? I don't think so. Most golems like that are designed to deploy wards while they're activated to prevent such things. A sensitive interference type will be played first. Isn't that a dead end? Hey, Abel. Mei-zen calls out to me uneasily. Don't worry. This place is wide, so it won't be a problem if I shoot my magic at it rather hard. No, you can't do that. That's a different story. It's a full-blown weapon. I'm sure you think you're strong, but you don't have enough sense of danger. No, but, the basics are probably the same as before, and with that one, as long as you can cut down its mobility, you can do whatever you want, goo. The beast-shaped golem howled, then rushed towards us. Damn it. Mei-zen shakes me off. I'm slammed to the ground according to gravity. What's wrong? Did he give up on me? Oh no, but the golem is more important than that right now. Wands, where are my wand? If I don't pick it up quickly, I will fall prey to the golem. I crawl on the ground, looking for the wand I dropped. There, the wand touches my hand. I look back at the golem as I hug my wand. What are you doing? You must run like hell. I'll distract it. I'll make buy you some time for 30 seconds. Mei-zen was running around the golem and into the depths of the ruins. Perhaps the golem was under orders to protect the depths of the fortress. The golem's eyes were locking on to Mei-zen as it seemed to have stepped on Mei-zen's higher priority. Wait, you don't need to put your life on hold. Mei-zen. Come back here. Don't be stupid, you run. I'm the leader, you know. When I can get that far away from them, my options are limited to making a clean kill with a single blow. I don't know the strength of the golem that accurately, either. This is about as much as I can handle. If the thrust is off and I can't beat it, the golem will crush Mei-zen to death first. Come back here. If you get close enough to me, I can do it. I'd love to die protecting people. When an adventurer saved me when I was little, I decided to use this life to help others. If it's determination, I'm already determined long ago. Mei-zen flees from the golem with tears in his eyes. However, the gap between them is closing in. It's like a cheetah and a rabbit chasing each other. Your voice is trembling, don't push it. Really, please come back. I'm not shaking. Look, you're gonna let me go down as a hero. So get yourself back home safe and sound. Quickly, you're leaving me to die for nothing. No, he's saying some nice lines. It's impossible to convince Mei-zen at this last minute now. It's such a wide area, so it won't collapse even if I put some effort into it. These ruins are not that weak either. This is a fortress that has existed for 2,000 years. It won't break down with a little effort, probably. Anything else would cost Maizen his life. Refine, I point my wand into the air. If you combine airborne components, spirits, and magical power, a metal called Hideme Magi metal will be created. This metal has the property of being strongly affected by the magic power of its creator. However, it cannot be used as a material for anything because its magic power breaks down and disperses quickly. A silvery white metal floats in the air. One after another, the metal sticks to it as if it were clinging to it. In the blink of an eye, a metal ball the size of a golem's head is created. If it's this big and dense, there's no way it would be unharmed. There. I waved my wand and a chunk of Hideme Magi metal shot straight out. Goo. The golem stopped and looked back at me. A chunk of metal bounced off its left shoulder. A blinding sound rang out from the golem and it blew away like a puppy and stuck to the wall. Coon. Whether it was a squeal or a stop, I can't tell. Okay, somehow. The metal ball that had flown to the opposite side of the hall had gouged one of the pillars in the corner of the hall. The fallen metal ball shook the area wide open. It had dug into the floor and made a crack. Thank you, Abel. I see you've been saved. Maizen was staring at the golem stuck to the wall with an expression that didn't seem to add up. Its limbs were still twitching and moving. However, it wouldn't be of any use anymore. Yes. Somehow, it's awkward. Maybe I was a burden. Thanks for jumping out. Look, I was happy too, so, I now have a question that I can answer with a yes or no. But I've loudly destroyed the ruins. No, maybe it's okay now. But this might become the Lord's property later, right? If I had damaged it so much, wouldn't I be charged for something? Even in Japan, if we carved "Able Surrender" on the pillar of the ruins, it would be picked up by the news and it would be a big deal. And then a metal ball goes boom, boom, and waves it around. I just hope is someone you can talk to. I'm sorry for saying this, but I can't trust him from the point that I discovered Wegener. Can't we somehow blame it on Ebelhade? At least that much is okay, right? Well, I should say I'm glad it was only this much. If the ruins had collapsed, we'd all be buried alive, I grumbled to myself, and at the same time the ruins began to shake violently. Rubble began to fall from the top of the collapsed pillars. Couldn't it be that it was starting to collapse around there? Hey Abel, is this okay? Isn't that kind of bad? That pillar, it could have been a bad one to collapse. I don't know what its role was, but there was some kind of complex formula carved into it. It might have been something related to the maintenance of the fortress. I didn't expect the ruins to collapse. Why, wait. Now take me on your back and go to that back door. Why, you're going in the back. Wouldn't it be better to run away this time? No, if we don't, Ebelhade will. Maizen raises an eyebrow. Leave that thing alone. He had it coming. Sorry to say it, but you should be glad you didn't have to fight. Did you think of bringing him back alive? But, even though he's a person like that, we've talked to each other about magic and respected each other during our investigations. Ebelhade may have seen me as nothing more than a tool. But when I rejected his invitation, he seemed a little sad. That's how I feel. Maybe that's just how I like to think of it. If Ebelhade hadn't been trapped in the blood of his ancestors, there wouldn't have been any confrontation. If we had met somewhere, for example, in a magic tool shop in the city, I'm sure. The people from the investigation team are still unconscious. It's going to take a long time to even get them out of here. Are you just going to let them die? And even if Ebelhade made it out alive, he wouldn't escape the death penalty if the case came to light now. I look at the back door. If you're going to die with the ruins, holding the treasure you've been seeking all along, there may be some relief rather than being executed in the city. Chapter 73. 20.6th episode. Zesham Ruins, 17, you are listening at Novel Full. Audio. The shaking of the ruins grew more and more violent. I wonder what was the part of the technique I shattered. This isn't so much a collapse, I think it is something else. Hey, Abel. Hurry and get on my back, come on. Maizen calls out to me while bending down. I was the one who suggested it first, but it's kind of extra embarrassing to be actively approached. It might have been a good thing that the people in the investigation team were being put to sleep. Ah. Just wait a minute. That beast-shaped golem, it should be able to move if it's repaired a bit. If we deactivate it once, release the wards and then reactivate it, we can use it as a leg. Don't be embarrassed now. Even well. I know it's not a very cool picture. No, it's not about being embarrassed, I simply thought it was faster this way. I use wind magic to drop the beast-shaped golem that was stuck to the wall. I removed the part that was leaking magic power due to the impact and removed the control unit that had been ruined in detail to simplify it. This will only allow it to make simple movements, but even I should be able to control it for that reason. I used alchemy to create a high-density high-beam magi.metal and applied it to strengthen parts and damaged areas. In about 10 minutes, the high-beam magi.metal will disperse and return to spirit and air, and the golem itself will become useless, but if I can hold it that long, I can fulfill my purpose this time. Because of the lack of time, I finished it in about 3 minutes, so there is a lot of roughness, and a lot of room for improvement, which I regret, but I can't help it. Golem, obey. Goo. The beast-shaped golem answered my chant and began to move. It's fixed already. In a moment like this, well, I basically just cut it off and reconnected it to the rest of the body. It's pretty simplistic, and I didn't completely repair it. The power itself has increased, but the details are degraded, and I'm just covering up for it with magic so soon it will break again. I don't understand. But it's possible to use it. I wanted to make sure the control unit was properly restored, not simplified. It seems that this golem was not very efficient in terms of magic power from the start. Maybe it's because of the time period, or maybe it's because of the race of elves. The rate of attrition in the circulation of magic power. I'll listen later. I'll ask as much as I can later, but for now, just move it. That's right, cracks were spreading across the ruins, mainly in the area I had damaged by hitting with the silver dot ball. The vibrations were also getting louder and louder. I climbed on top of the beast-shaped golem, along with Maizen. I waved my staff in front of me, and the beast-shaped golem ran out following my wave. Abel, at the entrance, it may be a little useful, I wave my wand and float 3 magic circles. I don't have to worry about damaging the ruins anymore, so I can use my magic as much as I want. Wind, form, blade. I shot out 3 blades of wind and collapsed the wall of the exit area. The exit widened. The beast-shaped golem jumped into it. Humph. I can only make it move simple, so it's a bit troublesome when there are obstacles. Maizen, what did you say earlier? No, it's nothing. Hey, if you can break down the wall that easily, you didn't have to break the wards, did you? What? Yeah, I'm sure I could have handled it with brute force. But Ebelhade didn't seem to like it. Maybe they just didn't take you seriously, I don't think so. I did feel lightly swept away, though. 9:21. 9:22. 9:23, when I returned to the aisle, Maya was standing there, mumbling and counting. Her expression is dark. It's kind of scary. Ah. You're back at last. Are you okay, Abel? Geez, Maya is so worried. Maya looked up, perhaps noticing the sound of the beast-shaped golem running. While explaining the situation to Maya, I activated the other golems from one end of the line. I let the golem hold the investigators and the others, and let Maya ride the beast-type golem. I fired a barrage of magic while we're moving and chose a path that would allow us to advance as quickly as possible by breaking obstacles and narrow passages. While I was doing so, the shaking of the entire ruins was increasing in intensity. I ran out of the ruins, followed by 10 golems coming out after me. Wherever they were hiding, I saw a trio of goblins that seemed to have escaped from the ruins, running into the forest. Once outside, I got far enough away from them to avoid getting caught in the collapse. I made the golem stop moving and had the investigators line up. We made it in time. I thought I was going to die. Maizen exhales in relief as he looks at the ruins. What was the arrow of God, after all? Was it a staff, or was it, as the word suggests, an arrow imbued with magical power? It must be something dangerous, but it was still something I wanted to see at a glance. Abel, what is that? Maya points to what I'm holding in my hand. Ah, a piece of wall. It flew off when I crushed it, so I caught it by using magic to suppress its power. Still, what an unusual ore. It must have been refined and created by the elves, Ebelhade said. As I experimented by flowing magic power over the palm of my hand, it became a little lighter. If the magic power flowed in the same wavelength, would it be less affected by gravity? No, I think it's more accurate to say that it creates buoyancy. Depending on the application, it could be used for something else. Buoyancy. It had stuck with me since I heard the story. Ebelhade had said that the elves who had been dropped into the land 2,000 years ago had built the fortress in order to retake the sky country of Alfheim. But if that was the case, then what was the purpose of building a fortress here, so far from the sky country of Alfheim? I thought it was just to gather magical stones to shoot the divine arrows, and that he was saying that as a procedure to retake the sky country of Alfheim, but even so, it was a little unclear how he said it. I looked back at the ruins, wondering if it was possible. The magic formula engraved on the walls of the ruins began to glow all at once, and doors here and there that had been sealed off began to open by themselves. Then, with a loud explosion, the ruins of Zeshem emerged high into the sky. Chapter 74. 2,000 Years Longest Wish, sighed. Ebelhade, you are listening at novelfull.audio. In the innermost part of the Zeshem ruins, Ebelhade placed his hand on the crystal that was embedded in the pedestal. In response to Ebelhade's magical power as a descendant of Zeshem, the crystal emitted a violet-blue light. With that, the entire ruin began to shake loudly. Ebelhade's hands trembled in excitement. Finally, his lifelong desire, the time for the reconstruction of Zeshem had arrived. He wondered if Abel would reach him before the Zeshem ruins were fully activated. That was the only thing Ebelhade was concerned about. But he couldn't seem to get past the Zeshem beast golem on the road, and it seemed that he couldn't show himself to Ebelhade. Although he knew there was no way a human could be a match for a magical weapon, Ebelhade was still relieved. When several Zeshem golems were activated at the same time, he despaired of the inexcusable nature of the situation. The common sense that had been cultivated by 200 long years had completely collapsed in him. It was etched in his head and heart that that little boy could do anything he wanted at that time. Eventually, the magic that had been carved into the wall began to glow, and the wall split off to the left and right, revealing a staircase. Ebelhade looked at the back of his own hand, which he was holding up to the crystal. A shadowgraph of a griffin spreading its wings came into view. It is the crest of Zeshem. This is the proof that he has gained control of the ruins and at the same time become the ruler of the whole world. Ebelhade ran up the stairs. At the end of the stairs was the top floor of the ruins, the rooftop. It was a special sit to look down on the world. Rise up, in answer to Ebelhade's words, the ruins of Zeshem. The floating fortress of Zeshem, the bow of God, began to emerge. As it was, Ebelhade moved the floating fortress to the east. First, I'll fire an arrow of God in the city of Lamern. With a city the size of that place, it can be turned into a burnt-out area with just one shot. It's the perfect performance. I'll show my power to the people around me and threaten them, gather the magic stones, and accumulate the magic power to release the arrow of God. That will be the immediate goal. Ebelhade put his hand on the edge of the rooftop and looked down at the ground. He had come to the top of the clouds, so there was a mist hanging over his vision. The grasslands as far as the eye could see, the city in the distance, the mountains. From now on, everything would be all mine. No, not just this tiny thing. Alfheim, the sky country that the descendants of Zesham have resented, envied and missed for generations, will be on my hand. My head heats up at the thought, and a smile escapes me. Father, Zesham's ancestors. Keep your eyes on me. Finally, the time has come to fulfill our 2000-year-long wish. The day when I will be the absolute ruler of Sky Country, Alfheim. No, of the whole world. Ebelhade stopped laughing high after shouting that and then stared at the heavens. At the end of this great sky is where the Sky Country, Alfheim is. Wait for me. I'm at a height where I can reach the clouds. Your heads are just in the next corner. At the exact moment that Ebelhade reached out of the edge, the space around it distorted. It was a precursor to the collapse of the wards that had automatically developed around the levitating fortress as soon as it was activated. A moment later, a violent sound of destruction could be heard. The cover of magic power that was made transparent shattered and vaporized. The floating fortress shook greatly. It had been attacked by something. It was impossible to shatter the wards of the floating fortress with a single blow. It should not be. Ebelhade felt his own blood quickly recede. No way, he thought, looking down at the ground. He could see the Zesham beast golem running on the ground with two humans on board. One half of the two had skin so lightly pigmented that it was hard to believe it was a living person, and it carried crimson eyes that were full of magic power. It resembles the undead king, Lich, a wreck that has never lost its magic power even after death. In the past, warriors feared him as the god of death on the battlefield, a characteristic of the Marin tribe. It was definitely able. It runs parallel to the floating fortress. Fast. It's also ridiculously fast. Obviously, it's incomparably faster than the traditional Zesham beast golem. In fact, the strong body made of the ores that our ancestors smelted and created, I found out that they couldn't bear the speed and screamed. Absolutely strange. The space around it was distorted again, and a ward covered the perimeter of the floating fortress. It's the automatic repair function of the warding that the floating fortress has. Noticing this, Ebelhade wipes the sweat on his forehead. It's okay. The warding's automatic repair function should either be interfered with from the flow of magic power or destroy all the warding wards around the floating fortress or it won't stop. The former requires us to figure out the flow of magic power, and the latter also requires us to determine the location and number of wards. Careful analysis is essential for both. If you had escaped, I wouldn't have bothered to chase them. The floating fortress is loaded with a variety of magical weapons. There's no need to use the Arrow of God. To begin with, Arrow of God has too much magical power drainage. If one shot was fired, the rest of the plan would suffer at once. Deploy weapon. In answer to his words, the floating fortress opens up here and there, revealing a cannon. I didn't think you planned to drop this floating fortress's bow with a single golem. It is true that you are a monster, I'll admit that. A half-hearted fortress could have been sunk by Abel alone. Ebelhade seriously thought so. But unfortunately, the floating fortress is a weapon used to conquer a whole country of monstrous people, the High Elves. They are clearly different in scale. That attack just now is probably Abel's hidden card. Although it was of great power, the wards that were broken by it have already been fully repaired. As long as this ward's automatic repair function is in place, there is no way that the floating fortress can be dropped. As Ebelhade pointed his hand towards Abel, all the cannons were aimed at him. Farewell, Abel. At the same time as Ebelhade shouted, a huge metal ball flew from the direction Abel was in. It wasn't just one, but a large number of them. The metal sphere swallowed and drowned out the magic bullets, and yet it still did not lose its power. The wards of the floating fortress were shattered by the leading blow. There was no way to wait for a moment to redevelop the wards, and metal balls flew in one after another. They dug, gouged, pierced, and destroyed the floating fortress here and there. Armor was stripped from the walls that hadn't been scratched for 2,000 years, cannons were smashed one by one, and large holes were left in the walls. Black smoke rises from all over the floating fortress. It's due to a weapons malfunction. Stop. I will use the bow of the floating fortress's bow to destroy the world. The sky country of Alfheim, the culmination of Zeshim's technology, the culmination of the clan's desire for 2,000 years, and Eberhard himself, of the long life of the elves. The surfacing fortress that he had put everything into was about to decay less than 10 minutes after it was activated. Something salty was rising from the back of Eberhard's throat. He staggered while holding his mouth and fell to his knees on the spot. It's a dream. This is just a dream. It must be. Since when have I been dreaming? Since you activated the floating fortress. Is it too lukewarm to call him a demon? Was it from the time I met that Marin sorcerer? No, this is not the time to escape reality. The arrow of God. With the arrow of God, I'm going to turn this whole area into a clearing with Abel. Eberhard knew that he was about to do something stupid. Pointing a weapon at an individual that was supposed to bring a country down was a complete wasting. But there was nothing else left to do. If I shot the arrow of God here, it would greatly derail his plans for the rest of the day. Now that most of the magic weapons had been destroyed, in the worst-case scenario, I would be able to take on a city, a country, and I'll have to scrape magic stone with just a complete bluff. I've never heard of such a pathetic ruler. I don't think we'll be very successful. But anyway, I have to remove the obstacles in front of us now. Arrow of God, Eberhard exclaimed as he raised himself up. Chapter 75. 20.7th episode. Zeshim Ruins, 18, you are listening at novelfull.audio. I had straddled the beast-shaped golem with Maizen to chase after Eberhard. When I looked up, I could see the ruins floating and heading straight for the city of Lamern. At first, I had planned to go alone, but Maizen bowed to me, saying I really want to see it through, and I had to take him along with me. There is a pair of men in Lamern's town who have fallen out with Maizen. He must be worried about them. Abel, can't you go faster? At this rate, we'll be in town by the time we catch up. I can't. I shake my head slowly, holding my mouth. I see. I guess so, right. Maizen disappointedly let his head hang down. If I go any faster, I feel like I'm going to vomit. I don't want to break the constant velocity motion. It's all right then. Please, Abel. When that one goes to town. You can puke if you want. I'll take it in my hand. What will that solution solve? You'll just get more people to lose. I smack myself on the side of the head and stroke my throat. I've calmed down a bit. I think it's safe to re-accelerate the speed soon. Going any faster is going to put a lot of strain on the beast-shaped golem. But in any case, it's destined to break if the Hydeem Magi. Metal disperses. I'm not going to spare you on that point. Just hold on tight. Okay. When I waved my staff forward, the beastly golem accelerated at once. In no time at all, the distance between us and the flying fortress was decreasing. I and Maizen tipped our backs forward and stuck to the beast-shaped golem's back. That's amazing. At this pace, we'll be catching up soon. My hand floats in the headwind. My cane nearly flies away. I hurriedly reached out and managed to follow it, raising my upper body and grabbing it. I was relieved, but this time my body floated. A bell lull. Maizen somehow managed to hold my hand in flight and stop me from falling off. But because of the wind knocking me off, I couldn't see back and forth or up and down at all. I didn't have time to give him the order to slow down. Somehow, Maizen pulled up and slammed me into the back of the beast-shaped golem. Thank you. I seriously thought I was going to die. I seriously thought I was going to lose it too. When they settled down, the fortress was already almost directly above them. I slowed down the beast-shaped golem so that it wouldn't overtake me. Refine, I waved my wand and chanted. From the air, I created a metallic ball of high-beam magi-metal. Outdoors, there's no need to limit its size. I made it twice as large in diameter as it was when I slammed one into the beast-shaped golem. I flew it as hard as I could without holding back and smashed it into the floating fortress. Just before the metal ball hit the fortress, it hit something transparent in color. An auto-deploying ward. But no problem. A crack immediately appeared in the space and the ward collapsed. As it was, the metal ball collided with the fortress. I was a little worried about whether the attack would pass through the wards, but with the way they look, it seems to be a matter of course. Didn't you already do it? Those wards are self-repairing type huh? Maizen gasps at my muttering. Self-repair, I don't really know. But is that bad? I'm afraid I've caused you some unwanted anxiety. I have to explain myself properly. Yeah, it'll be fine. At that pace, you have about 15 seconds to get the warding back on track. Oh, only 15 seconds. Oh no, yes. If it's going to take 15 seconds, it's as good as not being there in this situation. What? Is that so? That's because if you throw away your weapons and armor and stand on your feet for 15 seconds in the middle of a battle, you're going to die for sure. Maybe that repair function is not intended to recover in the middle of a battle. Is that how it is? I don't know much about magic so I don't understand, but I still feel like it's definitely different. Because 15 seconds, Maizen was holding his head and muttering to himself, wondering what was tripping him up. When I twisted my head, Maizen didn't say anything. For now, he seemed to agree with me. If you're going to sell continuous self-repair, it would be useless unless it's strong enough to be broken by a few attacks, or fast enough to prevent all continuous attacks. Even I, who have no experience in actual combat, can understand that level of detail. That fortress will fall if you keep shooting metal balls at it. I've never seen any other magic fortresses, so I can't say for sure. But it may not be for combat. As I was observing to see if there was any movement in the fortress, I saw Ebelhade on the roof. The other side was also staring at us, and our eyes met. Ebelhade, come down here. I shouted, but there was no response. At this distance, he couldn't have heard me. The floating fortress opened here and there, and cannons came out. It's quite an impressive sight to see the turrets lined up all over the place. They are in full attack mode. Ebelhade, standing at the top of the fortress, points his hand at me. All the cannons were aimed at me. I give up on my persuasion and I imagine 10 magic circles to smelt the high-beam magi-metal. Refine, at the same time that I released the first metal ball, a bullet of light was released from the cannons of the floating fortress. The metal ball thrusts forward while cancelling out the light bullets, smashing through the newly repaired wards. With 15 seconds to complete the next self-repair, I'm going to put the end on it all at once. I shoot out the 9 remaining metal balls and imagine a new magic circle. I don't have any particular aim in shooting them out. The metal balls ducks into the wall of the floating fortress and penetrate it, crushing the cannons one by one. Smoke rises from various parts of the fortress. No bullets are flying this way. The high-beam magi-metal is a metal that can be made quickly and disappears quickly. Instead of having to prepare it every time, its properties can be changed to some extent according to the occasion. This time, the high-beam magi-metal has the property of attracting magic power. As a result, the bullets of magic power released by the floating fortress will be attracted to the Hideme Magi. Metal and collide with it, all of which are dispersed. Although it doesn't have that strong of an attraction, but the fact that the other side is in a situation where they are aiming at us, it's very effective. When I thought I couldn't see Ebelhade, who was at the top of the floating fortress, he seemed to have buckled or fallen down, and I could only see his hand on the edge. I had also planned a few plans for when I couldn't destroy the floating fortress, but I guess it was an unnecessary worry. It's going to be easier to get rid of it than I thought. Abel. How strong are you? Maizen looked up at the crumbling surfacing fortress with his mouth half open. As he was thinking that the floating fortress was about to fall, the air in the area suddenly changed. The lower part of the floating fortress split open, revealing a huge crystal. As the crystal began to emit a suspicious purple light, a high-pitched sound rang out. What the hell was that? I've never heard of it before either, but it's the sound a spirit makes when it runs out of power. Normally it's a small sound that humans can't pick up. But when a great number of spirits collapse at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if you heard that. Perhaps that is the arrow of God launchpad. It would probably shoot out a laser. Like mass of magical power from a giant crystal. That thing can't be broken by the metal ball. If I stop the pilot, Ebelhade, no, depending on the structure of the fortress, once the order is given, it may not stop even if I take away the pilot's consciousness. I throw down my wand and hold out my hand to the sky after imagining the magic circle. Hey, Abel. Without the wand, originally, the wand was meant to improve accuracy. If you're only concerned about power, you're better off without it. Oh flame, form, ball. A large flame emerges in my hand and it gets more and more compressed. When it gets smaller, I add more flames and compress it again. Eventually, it became a pure white, luminous mass. When I had a cold, headache, and a nightmare and really hated the world, I mobilized all my knowledge and weaved a magic circle to be stirred up by something. In theory, this could destroy anything with it. Honestly, I thought I'd never use it in my life. This is probably the true maximum power I can produce at the moment. I pointed up into the sky and shot straight out. At the same time as I fired, the giant crystal that is the launch pad for the arrow of God shone strongly with a crack. My vision was covered by the blinding light and I couldn't see anything. A loud explosion sounded, and the earth shook. The giant crystal shattered, and the floating fortress cracked and shattered. Oh light, shine, I threw my wand away so I had to cast it from the spell to draw a magic circle. Oh wind, carry, I shot out a mass of wind into the sky and let it scramble through the debris to keep it from falling on us. As it was, I retrieved the falling Ebelhade and placed it gently on the back of the beast-shaped golem. Hey. You're letting this guy live. I'll leave it to the city to decide what to do with Ebelhade from now on. I don't know what Ebelhade thought of me. Still, I think of Ebelhade as a friend with whom I could talk about magic. I couldn't bring myself to kill him with my own hands. If I let him live, it certainly doesn't look like he'll be able to do anything bad again. Ebelhade was limp, staring at the wreckage of the floating fortress with lifeless eyes. That must have been all he had. I don't think I did anything wrong. If it had gone on like that, the city of Lamern would have disappeared. Still, looking at the exhausted face of Ebelhade, is a little heartbreaking to see. Chapter 76. 20.8th episode. Zesham Ruins, 19, you are listening at novelfull.audio. Ebelhade's ambition to rule the world had quietly come to an end, almost unbeknownst to everyone. By the time the investigation team led by Wegener woke up, it was all over. Seeing the ruins reduced to a pile of rubble, Wegener was in a state of apoplexy. This man must have been shocked because he too had been so proud of his big job. Although, it wouldn't be comparable to Ebelhade's. After Wegener had calmed down, Maya explained to Wegener what happened this time. The ruins went swoosh and bang, then Abel went with a wham, and then it glowed with a blinding light and a boom. Hey, go get a translator. Since the offender that destroyed the ruins that matched is nowhere, that is the thing that we precisely explained again. The fact that Ebelhade used hypnotic magic, that I carried everyone out with the golem, that the ruins flew away, and that he shot it down safely. No, this is very troubling. Trying to curry up to this wagoner and exaggerating it for the merits, I explained it again, but they didn't believe me about the matter of shooting down the ruins. The party involved, Ebelhade, also just had empty eyes while looking at the wreckage, so I decided to deceive them appropriately. Well, even if I had them believe that I destroyed the fortress poorly, there was a possibility that it would have been troublesome later on in that case. This would have been good. However, it was painful for not being able to bring back the golem. They can't even put it on a carriage, and apparently, if it's activated poorly, it'll get caught in the ordnance. I don't know how far it's legal, but I let the fact go that you moved the golem while I was unconscious. Originally, I would have had you in jail for being a danger yourself. You can thank me for my generosity of spirit. In the end, with the Lord's authority pushed through, and the golem settled on Wagoner recovering it all over the days. Wagoner's position would be in jeopardy if the ruins were shattered and no credit was given to him, even though he had been entrusted by the Lord to do so. It seemed that Ebelhade had received quite a bit of financial support as well. However, it's hard to say that we have so much done and have no return, so we took a look at Wagoner and decided to sneak some useful-looking ores from the wreckage of the ruins. Distracting Wagoner was aided by Alan, a member of the investigation team. After returning to the city of Lamern after a few days, we headed to the Adventurer Support Center. The purpose of this is to have the parts of the demonic beasts that we defeated in the ruins and along the way redeemed for cash. We brought a hound's fur, a Sufi's tail, and hobgoblin's ears. The Sufis and hobgoblins were mainly killed by the investigators, but they gave it all away to us without Wagoner knowing. I should have carried the griffin out of the ruins as well, I think to myself now. That was already underneath the rubble. It's a shame because I heard that the demonic beasts with a Class B danger level were rewarded with an order of magnitude difference. The defeat report is usually written by the party leader. What do we do? If Abel wants to write, I'll give it to him, but, I don't know, so just do what Maizen wants. They need to write a report in order to get the parts they killed to be redeemed. Many of the adventurers grew up in the slums, so there are people who earn pennies by instructing or substituting for their counterparts who can't write. Are you sure? It's the content of the report that determines an adventurer's promotion. Especially at the lower levels, where the screening process is looser. According to Maizen, it's rather standard practice for the party leader to write whatever he or she wants to write to his or her advantage. There are many E and F class parties that would not be possible without a leader, so they tend to be leader-absorbed. I don't have any problems with F. class for now. If I can find a concrete goal, I'll raise it then. You're putting it mildly. Well, it's true, if it's you, you'll have no problem in doing whatever you do. Then I'll write it down for you, just check it out. Yes. Maya will. Maya will write. I've been kind of longing for something like this. My handwriting is a bit suspicious, but if I could write for me. Then it's up to you, Maizen. Sorry, but Maya's lack of expression is already confirmed. If it were left to her, half of the report could be filled with onomatopoeic words. The only thing we can use as the material is the hound's fur, and apparently Sufi tails and goblin ears mean little more than proof of defeat. The main purpose of the reward seems to be to support adventurers and maintain the number of adventurers. Rather than directly improving security by reducing the number of demonic beasts. The demonic beasts that we hunted this time were not specifically requested to be defeated. We also can't expect any special reward from the Lord. Wagoner, the head of the investigation team, didn't seem to have a good impression of us either. Each one may not be exactly the same value, but due to the large number, the original value was obtained for the time being. At the rest stop, we discussed our share of the money. We decided to subtract food, carriage fees, and other expenses from the reward money and divide the amount into 3 equal parts. That's a little over 100,000 Gs for each head. We would have been in the red if the investigation team hadn't gave the ears of the hobgoblins to us. However, as far as defeating them, neither I nor Maya had done much of anything, so I had my thoughts. But I was forced to take it by my zen. Honestly, it helped. With this much, we'll be safe for a while for now. Well then, I'll give Maya's portion to Abel. Maya hasn't done anything after all. After we parted with my zen, Maya tried to hand me the small bag of money. No, I have my debt, so I'd rather want you to collect my share of the compensation, but you don't have to return that one, do you? See, if you think of this as community property and Abel can manage it. Maya smiled and grabbed my wrist as she tried to shove the sachet back. She's surprisingly strong. But look, you don't have to be in such a hurry to settle your account. Maya doesn't know what to do with the money or anything, so Abel should hold it. Okay. Yeah, well, she's not smiling in her eyes. Oh no, this girl's a bit scary. Next time I see that peddler, James, it'd be better to talk to him about it. When the distribution was settled, the voices of a man and woman talking behind me came into my ears. Hey, did you hear that? You see, the story of the warding ruins. It's not much. Did it explode somehow? A couple of people who looked uncharacteristically badass were talking about the Zesham ruins. I couldn't help but stop talking and listen towards the voices. The elf that the Lord hired tried to take it all to himself, in the end spectacularly exploded, they said. Now he's in jail. So stupid, right? Yua. Being greedy and in the end, no one gains a thing is the worst. I had an image of an elf being more intelligent than that, you know. I couldn't bear to listen to it, so I gently removed it from my consciousness. Ebelhade's case was treated as the rampage of a greedy elf. It seemed to have saved Ebelhade from being executed because of it, but I honestly don't know which was better. Perhaps this rumor will continue to follow Ebelhade until he dies. Will Ebelhade, who is proud of his race, be able to withstand this? Chapter 77. A Story of a Certain Village 3 Side. Zelrut, you are listening at novelfull.audio. Meanwhile, at that time, a meeting hall discussion was taking place in the Marin village. It was about the disappearance of a certain Orta madman and other issues associated with it. In addition to the head of the house who had a voice in the village, Abel's father, Zelrut, who was at the center of the matter, had been invited to this meeting. The assembly is led by the chief of the clan. About a dozen people were gathered. Norman Karlko, who would normally have been absent from the meeting in opposition to the chief, also showed up on this day. Ever since the incident when his son Noswell had hit a big polka streak in the exchange market, Norman had been unable to get the Karlko family's family business of cultivating incense leaf to work. He had even fallen asleep due to the shock of the incident until just recently. He had just managed to recover his health after the chief's mercy had allowed him to exchange the pile of stock of incense leaf, which had been turned into mere trash, for cheap demon or coins. Norman was in no position to refuse the chief's call. Besides, there was a possibility that he might be entrusted with the task of cultivating the new incense leaf that was being promoted by the clan chief's initiative in the future. There was no reason for him to displease the chief by being absent from the meeting. His ambition to run the village on behalf of the chieftain's family had not disappeared. But now he had to put himself in line with the chieftain's family and regain the authority he had lost. Norman was a calculating, ruthless and smart man. He was generally excellent, except for his mental weakness and panicking at the unexpected. On the other hand, Abel's father, Zelrut, was buoyant. Never before had the Barek family been called to a gathering of a small number of people. It was true that his son had broken the laws of the village, but fortunately, Abel had already completed his coming of age ceremony. Moreover, The law that says that you can't get out was originally established because the people that gets out generally encounter bad things. It's not something that your family members can be blamed for breaking. It's more the right of the incense leaf. The reason why the Karlko family had authority up until now, even to the point of being close to a chieftain, was due to the fact that they had a near-dot monopoly on the rights of the incense leaf. Kelrut believed that since Abel had dazzled them, the whole right of the incense leaf would be passed around to him as his father. He couldn't sleep until late night because he thought that this time's discussion will be about the right of the incense leaf. After fidgeting all morning, my wife and daughter stared at me. Zelrut is certainly not a bad person. He had a feeling of regret that he might have pushed his own agenda too far in response to his son's disappearance. But that was it, and he had switched to this one. This meeting was a major historical event for the Belek family, and Zelrut saw it as such. The Marins, who often married among their relatives, tended to be strong in their kinship lineage, but that tended to make them exclusive to other families altogether. Power and financial power were also heavily skewed, and there were not many opportunities to overturn this. Originally, the Berek family was not a quick family, and up to the present generation, they have been viewed through colored glasses because of Abel's eccentricities. For such a Berek family, the incense leaf war in the exchange market is a miraculous reversal of fortune. I couldn't help but fidget now. Zelrut was not a bad person. However, he was just a man who was weak in power. He didn't think that the reclusive son could go out and do well, so part of him was high-minded that he would come back eventually. But that didn't mean he didn't regret or feel remorse. If Abel came back, he would make concessions, he thought. Zelrut has been going to the chief's mansion these days. He was beginning to think that he might be able to get him to marry the chief's granddaughter, Phiro, without forcing him to marry his sister, Giselle. That way, he thought, Abel would have less resistance. He would be taken as a son-in-law, but if he sold Abel to the chieftain's family, it also works quite well for the rights of the incense leaf. It would be a no-go move. The biggest obstacle, in that case, would be Giselle, but he was taking it lightly, thinking it would be manageable. Zelrut had been getting arrogant lately, as things had been moving along at a brisk pace of late. There was no limit to human greed. When you can see the top, it's instinct to crawl up. Thanks. I'm sorry to hear that my son got you into trouble before. No, don't worry about it. It's only natural that there are better ones out there. Zelrut looked at Norman Karlko, who was seated next to me, and swore to himself that I would not fall like this guy. Norman had completely lost his demeanor, and the arrogance he used to have was completely gone. Norman was Norman, poised and sneering, but in his heart, he was burning with anger at Zelrut's implied attitude. All of you. I'm thankful to you for answering my call. We have a number of issues to deal with. But first I must apologize for my failure to do so. After everyone had gathered and settled in, the chief spoke up. The assembly hall fell silent, and everyone listened attentively to his next words. Abel's method of cultivating the incense leaf was impossible to replicate. Abel was the only one who could make it. It was carefully written down, and that's why I understood it so well. With a crunch, the two chairs collapsed. Zelrut crumpled to the floor with both elbows on the floor. Munyamu, that Abel, in contrast to the sinking Zelrut, Norman stands up vigorously. Yashaya! Norman shouted loudly and rejoiced. In his excitement, he leaned upon the round table and thanked the spirits of his ancestors by signing a large cross with his hand. The people around him were dazed at the sight of it, but to Norman, it was of no consequence. The opportunity to regain the monopoly and authority of the Karlko family once again came around quickly. Unreplicable. Ha 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 ha. If that's the case, then I have no business for this place now. Now that Abel and Abel's incense leaf are gone, there's nothing to fear. Oh old man, and the Bereks, remember that for going against me will cost you high. Norman said and slammed the magic or bag he had been carrying around with him for the rest of his life onto the desk. After taking a glance at the stunned people from the other houses, he walked out of the meeting place with ease. However, once you learned the taste of the incense leaf, it was hard to get rid of it. Once one smoked Abel's incense leaves, the Karlko family's incense leaves were nothing more than humus. Later on, Norman would get down on his knees to ask the chief for forgiveness for his rudeness in this matter, but he did not know that now. The chief interrupts his coughing and resumes the conversation with the two disorganized chairs intact. The chief said he would make a flavorless incense. Smoke leaf peep and mix it with Abel's incense leaf to increase the bulk. While he was stretching it out, he would slowly change the formula and replace it with something else. This would not spare the incense leaf from declining, but it would spare the chaos in the village. As a clan leader, as soon as he was able to strengthen the circulation of the demon or coin, his attachment to the incense leaves had already faded. Even if the incense leaf keepers were to decline, it wouldn't be a problem for him. In fact, I don't think well of the incense leaf people, which makes life difficult for individuals and creates a gap between the rich and the poor. It's a good thing that I can use this opportunity to get rid of it. Then I ask you to keep this matter a secret. If it gets out, it could cause a riot. You must try to convince the Karlkos to cooperate. With the Karlkos' cooperation will make things easier for us. Besides, as it stands now, it is conceivable that Norman, in his haste, might leak it. Before doing so, he would probably realize his blunder, but just in case. The Karlko family is an expert in the incense leaf, albeit a difficult one to handle. They are also adept at cultivating them. He had to draw them into his group. Then, The chief suddenly looked at the wall. He felt a strange flow of magic power. I'll be right back. Wait for a moment. The chief left the meeting place and looked around. The signs of someone had already disappeared. However, the soil near the opposite side of the wall where he had felt the magic power earlier was slightly sunk in. It was the remains of where they had placed the ortem. Someone had killed the signs and was eavesdropping here. This was the best evidence of that. The chief thought he knew all the people in the village who were reasonably proficient in the use of magic. However, he has no idea who can suppress their presence while having ortem eavesdrop on them. Nor did he have any idea of anyone who would risk that much and plan to eavesdrop on the gathering. Feeling disturbed, the chief returned to the assembly hall. In the activity report, I have an important report regarding the reincarnation of the curse race. Please check it out. Chapter 78. Episode 1. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Gaston. 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 The arena was in a frenzy. Everyone in the crowd, which must have been in the thousands, was raising their arms and shouting the same name. It was like a concert of a famous rock band I had seen in a previous life. Gaston. Gaston. I caught up with the others and shouted, waving my arms up in the air. Maya, seeing me, raised her arms as well and started cheering for Gaston. 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 The blood-boiling excitement fires the nerves in my brain and drives me into a frenzy. It's fun. It's crazy fun. The auditorium was filled with a definite sense of unity. Taking advantage of reflecting on Zesham ruins, we decided to take a solid, short-handed approach to the forest this time. There are only affordable magical beasts here, and since there's no need to use a carriage to move around, the expenses are cheap and helpful. Since Mason and I couldn't agree on a schedule, Maya and I would be traveling alone. Apparently, the two former party members had asked him to join them. I'm sure they broke up without a thought, but the party probably couldn't make it when the leader left. Although Mai Zen said, "Oh dear, it can't be helped," but he seemed quite happy to accept it. It's just that the two couples were flirting and huddling together without any consideration for Mai Zen, but would that make Mai Zen okay with it? They didn't look like a threesome, they looked like two and one completely. Maya had an enraptured look on her face and insinuated, a couple that seems to be so close, Maya adores, but I want you to pay more attention to +1 Maizen than the couple. The fact that Maizen looks happy is also painful. That guy, he should definitely get out of there. It was said that there were survivors of the unicorns that had sprung up in the forest during the magic beast disaster monster panic, and that the forest was full of adventurers who wanted to take advantage of the unicorns were prone to trouble. But it was apparently a hoax spread by adventurers who wanted to monopolize the other hunting grounds. The main culprit of the hoax had been beaten to a pulp in the back of the Adventurer Support Center. With a face covered in blue bruises from the beating, he said, "Serves you right. I've made a fortune while you're wasting your time," and then he was attacked even more caustically. I hope it doesn't turn into a murder case. But as usual, how can I say? This is what I thought when they were in conflict with the investigation team and fighting for the rights to the ruins, but it seems that the adventurers of this city love to fight over unimportant issues. No, they're all desperate, though. The unicorns had already been hunted out. The adventurers were excited because a peddler in Lamern bought a large number of unicorn pelts without losing much money from the market. Peddler. It wouldn't be James Wright. That guy looked pretty rash. I don't think he can afford to buy up all the furs of mythical beasts. I wonder if he's still in town. I don't hear anything about it. I doubt it's time for us to take a break, and I wiped the sweat off my face and sat down on a nearby rock. Not again. No. It's nothing. No, Maya was just starting to get tired of her feet, and was just about to say it. Wow, just in time. Phew. You're a lifesaver. Maya replies to my suggestion. It's more painful to know that you're being considered, you know. I take out the hyatl, put my mouth on it, and drink down the water inside. A hyatl is a water bottle made by hollowing out the contents of a gourd-like plant fruit. It is embalmed and enchanted to prevent it from breaking. It seems to be the best-selling item in the Chimera's Tales magic store. By the way, the price was 248 G. The owner of the store seems to be living a very lonely life. Are you sure you're alright? I was thinking of turning around and coming back in carriage. Is it okay? You can take a lot of stuff home with you that way, or so Maya thinks in a way. I appreciate the offer, but I can't accept it. It costs a lot of money to hire a carriage. If we were to use it all the way to such close proximity, we would certainly be in the red. It's okay. You have to move your body from time to time, or your body will get slow. I see. Body dulling. I see. Maya looked like she wanted to say something, but she quickly shut up. Oh, water. I use magic to get water out and replenish Hyatl's water. This is a great way to reduce the weight of your luggage. Normally, it seems that the most difficult thing for adventurers is to carry water with them. This time we are heading to a forest, so there may be a river, but in a dungeon, that's not possible. Even if there is a sorcerer, he or she may not be suitable for it depending on the attributes and the type. I slap the calf of my leg with my hand and lightly rub it. My muscles were already starting to ache. I didn't think that the biggest obstacle to choosing the forest as my hunting ground would come out in this way. By the time we reach the forest, I'll probably be unable to move. When I thought about this, the exchange with Maizen at the ruins went through my mind. That's right. Maizen, take me on your back and go after Ebelhade. Yeah, okay, but, oh, that's right. There is that way. Hey, Maya. You carry me, what is it, Abel? No, it's nothing. It's not good to have a woman carry me on her back, indeed. It would be better if my legs could somehow hold it. Chapter 79. Episode 2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As we entered the forest, we immediately spotted a bear with a pitch-black body surface. It crouched on the ground and was eating a fish that seemed to have been taken from the river. The black bear seemed to only eat the head of the fish and threw its body parts to the area. Isn't that the one that was rumored in the Adventurer Support Center? Maya said, keeping her voice low. I did hear about him at the Adventurer Support Center, and he was given the ostentatious moniker of the Head Eater's Black Fiend. It is consistent with the characteristics of a magical beast. It may be that it's not long since it was discovered, so the official name is not yet known, or it may be that they haven't been able to check it against the past reports. Perhaps it was a rare type of mutant. Since the mass outbreak of unicorns, maybe there's something that can drive the magic field crazy. Anyway, this black bear was a demonic beast that had been requested to be defeated. Somewhat reasonable reward money can be expected. Wasn't there about 2 adventurers that's been eaten? Wow, we've run into some strange things right away, not a good omen. They seem to be slow, so let's run away before they find, oh wind, form, blade. The magic power emitted from the tip of the staff I wielded manipulates the wind and makes the blade form, gua. The bear's head flew clean off as it looked back at us. Looks harder than Gray Bear. This is why mutants, a monster appears out of the blue in an ordinary hunting ground for beginners. To the adventurers, it's nothing but a nightmare. It is said that the most common reason for the party's demise is the appearance of mutants, and the second most common reason is the magic beast disaster monster panic. It seems that this demonic beast is slow-footed, so it didn't seem to cause massive damage, but we still know that 2 people have already died. The time should have been covered, so I wish the adventurer who wanted the unicorn had killed them while they're at it. Maya was looking at the headless bear with rapt attention. Speaking of which, Maya, weren't you trying to say something earlier? No, nothing. It was an unnecessary warning to Abel, right? I thought I was supposed to take out the ears. I roll the black bear's head over, hold the side of its head in my hand, and place the blade of the wood-carving knife against the base of its ear. Abel, yeah. Maya calls out to me and I turn around. Maya. After all. I guess I'm a burden, aren't I? I can't fight, and I can't do anything about it, and, no, that's not, I don't want you to sound so sorry. I'm the one who is financially indebted to her, so it's hard for me to get out of the way. Besides, there are many things that Maya does for me. Like carrying things. Like carrying things. Next time, when I have time, I might teach Maya some magic. I applied force to the wood-carving knife and tried to shave the black bear's ear. Hard. It's crazy hard. If the demon beast dies, the magic power that makes its body hard should be cut off, but it's not cutting at all. The handle of the wood-carving knife is made of the world tree and has a powerful magical power. It has the power to sniff out the wavelength of the tree's magical power and match it. However, it is only a knife specialized in wood. If it is used against a demonic beast, it is just an ordinary blade. The ears could be cut off with the wind magic, but I wanted to remove the fur as well. However, as expected of a wind blade, the wind blade couldn't be fine-tuned to that extent. I thought this bearskin could be used for something. Maya. Let Maya do it. If it's that, then Maya can do it too. As I was holding the black bear's head in distress, Maya desperately tried to persuade me on it. No, it's not that I'm not that muscular. Sure, I may be a bit lacking in stamina, but maybe that has something to do with the drain on my magic power. Because my muscles are fine. I do a couple of push-ups before I go to bed and, although I handed over the wooden carving knife to Maya's momentum, I thought it would be impossible as expected. I know my weaknesses, too, and I'm analyzing them and planning my own countermeasures. Muscle training and such. When I used the status disclosure magic to check it, my numbers hardly increased, but I'm sure it's my magic that has a problem. I developed that magic many years ago, but the status disclosure magic has many flaws. The status barely reflects the results of muscle training, and when I try to check my magic value, the status shows like it has bug. I don't know the reason for either, so there's nothing I can do about it at all. I guess the concept of quantifying a creature's ability value was a mistake after all. I'm still developing it, but as long as I can't improve on its shortcomings, it's going to be difficult to put it to use. I once beat Giselle in an arm wrestling match. After enough fierce battles, I won the match, even though I was supposed to be inferior in terms of muscle strength. This is another reason why I don't trust status disclosure magic. Giselle was smiling and laughing, and I was sweating, but a win is a win. By no means was Giselle cutting corners to build up her brother. I think. So, as expected, even me, compared to girls my own age. Abel. I've cut it. It was a bit of a struggle, but you managed to cut it off, Abel. Yeah, should I take the skin off too? Yes, please. I take Maya's instructions and roughly tear the black bear's body with wind magic. Maya uses the cleft as a starting point to peel off the black bear's skin. It seems that she closely watched Mai Zen taking off Hound's pelt, so it looked like she knows the procedure and the gist of it. I didn't see much of it, but maybe Maya was observing things to see what she could do. She's having a bit of a hard time because of the quantity, and she's rattled at the end because of the fat and blood blade damage. But somehow she managed to get the skinning done. We have money to some extent, so maybe we'd better buy a dismantling knife and sharpening stone for Maya in the future. I'd also like to replace the blade of the wood carving knife. The handle is, after all, a world tree, but the blade is cheap and worn out, so I can take it. Chapter 80. Episode 3. You are listening at novelfull.audio. With frequent breaks in between, we return to the city of Lamern. As opposed to the road, isn't it time for a break? Oh. I think I might be getting a little tired. No, Maya will take care of this one. And so on. Maya often asked for a break. I asked Maya to carry the black bear's fur and other luggage, but it was still too hard for her. After arriving in the town of Lamern, we moved to the Adventurer Support Center to work on this report. But do I have to write this every time? In addition to taking into account the increase in adventurer rank, and after getting the adventurer's permission, and they show it as a reference to other adventurers and scholars, or in some cases, sell it in a book as an adventure story. Can Maya write it? I want to write it one time. If it were up to Maya, I'm sure she'd at least resubmit it. No, that time is that time. If she wants to do it, I can let her do it. It may seem like a fetter to rising ranks, but as far as ranks are concerned, I can't see any significant merit in it at this point. As I said to Mai Zen, I can raise it when I need it and it won't matter. At least I could hunt a griffin with a B. class designation of danger. And from what I've heard rumors about, it's only from B. class adventurers that various rights are granted. But above the B class, there is a section that the nobles are using as a foil for the adventurers they've held on to. It's not something that can be given to people without any backing just because they have done a little bit of good work. Alright, you can write whatever you want. Yes. I'll write it for you so that Abel looks really cool, you can count on me. Oh, yeah. I'll be waiting for you. I drink the nut juice sold at the rest stop and watch Maya prepare her report. Write my name as Mr. Mountain. Wouldn't it be better to apologize to the staff and have them re-register you? You'll definitely be sulking afterward, won't you? That's not going to happen. I've sworn to make Mr. Mountain the most famous sorcerer in the world. It may seem like a joke, but I'm not going to break my promise easily. As expected, the report was full of onomatopoeic words, but well, it will make sense. The support center is also quite crowded, and it would be a hassle for the staff to go to the trouble of poking back at the report. We will not be asked to rewrite the report. I think. Just the description of the black bear will be rewritten at my suggestion. From a staff member's point of view, it's important to know if this bear is really the rumored mutant species. I had better write this part down exactly. What do you think? How about it? Maya finished her report and then showed it to me. It's great that it has an impact. Of course. I'm sure the staff will be shaking with emotion and will turn the report into a book about Abel's adventures. That's what you're going for. Well, that's going to be tough. You know, I just got in the neighborhood and then I came back. No. Absolutely you can. I wrote it so cool. Well, yeah. Well, let's not delve any further into this. Let's take it to the reception desk quickly and finish redeeming the ears and furs and submitting the report. When I got up from my seat, I noticed the eyes of the people around me looking at me. Hey, aren't those ears and furs the rumored head-eating black fiend? Nonsense. But there aren't any other bears that color, is there? Come on, man. There's no way that little brat could hunt it. But it's so slow, if they had the right conditions, they could have pulled it off. No, but it's not, I can hear whispering stories. I just used magic to slice him from behind, though. Certainly, it might be able to be managed if it was set up in a pit or something. Didn't they just pick up a corpse or something? Either that or that demon was weak. I thought the rumors were just exaggerated, but it wasn't a big deal. I've heard that there was a sorcerer who was good at spreading such rumors and hunting them himself. You see, he became a close associate of the Lord just by repeating the process. They just painted the ears of another magic beast black, didn't they? You know, there was a guy thrown in jail for a similar thing. Disguising themselves, disguising the damages, and taking the achievements. The adventurers here really aren't any good when the precedent is popping up. No, I only know the city of Lamern, so maybe the whole thing is not the same. It looks like we're kind of a celebrity. Maya's mouth relaxed as she glanced around at the fur in her hand. Not a celebrity, but this is just getting their attention right. You're being sprayed with a lot of untrue charges. Are you okay for being happy about it? I was on my way to reception when a drunk blocked my path. He was a fat, middle-aged man with a round, smooth head. It's good for business, boy and girl. Isn't that the rumored magic beast I've been hearing about? Oh, come on. The middle-aged man wandered around with a bottle of liquor in hand, blushing merrily. But only the light in his eyes was swift. I ignored him and signaled Maya with my eyes to go on, trying to ignore him. Yeah. Abe, over here, Mr. Mountain hunted him. Zoom then slash a single blow to the head. Oh my god, it was really cool. No, but there's a possibility that it's not the rumored magic beast, just judging it from the outer appearance, so we don't know that yet. Well, but that's probably right, but this is not good. I can't speak for other people either, but she's not the type of girl to have bad intentions. She's completely soaring, thinking it feels like a compliment. A single blow. Well, I guess you got lucky in some way, but I feel sorry for you. I'm not one of them, but this place is crawling with people who are desperate to get up in the ranks, so it's going to be a good target of jealousy. I'm not, though. Oh, that kind of ugly person. Hey, you just stepped on a landmine. The drunk's eyebrows are twitching. Abel, you have to be careful about that kind of jealousy because Mr. Mountain is awesome. Well, I'm not, though. I'm just giving you advice out of the goodness of my heart. That's high of you to say when you get entangled easily. However, this is really troublesome. Apparently there are many opportunities for the C-class and above to serve the nobility, so it's not surprising that they are pulling each other's leg. It's not hard to understand that if someone had just risen from underneath, but instead you should be swinging your sword when you have time to whine. Do I have to get tangled up with this kind of guy every time I hunt a magical beast? It would be nice if I could exchange my money for cash in peace.